what led me into farming was it's all I ever wanted to do. I just remember being a little boy riding on the fender of the tractor with my dad. I just loved farming, you know, the lifestyle, just family. Really, you know, where we're at, we didn't have to even know what was going on in the rest of the world. We probably don't need to get this poly. We had cleaned it up this year. In 1990, we ended up farming about 1,000 acres. I was about 26 years old, still worked for my dad. We adopted no-till in the 90s. We seen how much better the crops were. Looking to see how, when it matures on up the head, you can cut the water off and start draining when it gets about halfway mature. Most of the field is. The back field, I'm gonna add some more water too, and because it was planted about 2 or 3 weeks later because it was such a wet spring. Looks good. I'm a farmer by heart, and I have to make a living. And the thing about it is, all farmers have to make a living before they can do anything else. Then you get older, and you always need to leave it a little bit better than it was before, and you know, and try to give back. This ditch here, smart weed lined up. Wood ducks start using it about this time of year. You know, it's a win-win. You know, remember wood ducks crossing right there, that big bunch right there. The ducks have only been here a few days, and they'll build up till we drain the water off, and we'll hold it as long as we can, just to give them somewhere else to be this time of year. It's really been helpful, and I feel like we're giving a little back because of it.
Working with people like Wally is what makes my job fun. He's taken me to a lot of different places, a lot of different farms. He farms up in what we call the Bluffs, very hilly, rolling ground, and he farms all the way in the very flooded floodplains of the Mississippi Delta. He's taken me 3/4 of the way across the Mississippi River, where we burned for quail. We burned for early succession right there at the river. So my role as a precision ag conservation specialist is to work with farmers in my region to help them identify areas within their fields that are unprofitable, unproductive. We help farmers utilize their data, yield information, NDVI, soils information to pinpoint those areas and then repurpose those areas for wildlife conservation.
Now what is that?
Ironweed.
Ironweed.
Yep, that's something that we planted.
What I cut ironweed's tea-weed. So this is ironweed.
Yep.
Did not know that.
Wally does a phenomenal job incorporating precision ag into his decision-making, really looking not just at agriculture, but also the best use of land.
So there's marginal areas that a lot of farmers want to farm, and they feel like they're obligated to farm. Those are prime areas for our USDA conservation programs, because we want to keep away from those marginal areas. And if we can put those into some type of conservation cover that has a multitude of benefits, then that's a good thing for everybody. Wally is farming the very best. He's buffering the rest. And that makes him more profitable. And that's what we want to do. Put habitat on the ground, but also reward the farmer. Well, Wally's one of those interesting guys who's a really big farmer, but he's just as big a conservationist.
Wally is implementing refuges for waterfowl. He's implementing quail habitat across his farm. He's continuing to do that. He's continuing to look into different management practices. I think the future for Wally is only going to be brighter.
Doesn't matter if it's ducks or quail or rabbits, you know, Wally's going to be in the thick of things, and he wants to do the right thing. And so it's just enjoyable from my standpoint to see it all come together, and it's just a big success story.
Row crop operations have gotten a lot bigger over time. Equipment's gotten bigger. And a lot of these areas of cover have gone away. With the use of heavy equipment and track hoes, we've taken out edges of fields and fence lines and made it easier to farm. But by doing this, we've destroyed a lot of cover that these bobwhites and other wildlife once used. With certain conservation practices and farm build programs, we can give cost share back to that landowner to put those areas back in some type of permanent vegetation. On his upland cover, the CP43s that he's put in, those are kind of the first in the areas, so it's definitely something different on the landscape. It's providing a lot of cover and all connectivity between different fields so that wildlife can use that.
There's a lot of good stuff out here. It's farming different.
No, it's no doubt farming
certainly
different.
Farming different.
Yeah, but who wants to farm the same all the time? That takes all the fun out of it. That's boring. Well, I mean, the yield bumps are real. You get away from the trees and all, it's going to be that. You have no inputs in this part anymore. And anything you're going to build, it's got to take a little work, time, and money. So, you know, it's good for the land, the people that own the land. It's good for the farmers. The wildlife aspect of it has actually overtaken the farming of the ground. But it's just another way to give and do, and you know, get to share it with a lot of people.
And that's why it was so nice to start working with Wally. He was real open to what we had to say. He knew these areas that he had that weren't productive, and he was just ready to learn about how about early successional type cover and how he could manage for it on his properties.
We've always been told the quail can't come back. I do not believe that. I think anything can happen. There's one. We'll start with that one. We'll add a couple as it rains this fall. Try to slowly build it back up. Give it a little bit more time before it gets too deep.
You know, especially with this shallow water area that we put in 3 years ago now, we put that in. And a lot of people have heard Wally talk about that area. It's gotten a lot of attention in this area, specifically because he's used as a refuge area. Waterfowl in this part of the world get a whole lot of pressure. There's a whole lot of cornfields that get flooded around here for waterfowl, but there's not a lot of moist soil units that go in that exist here in this part of West Tennessee. So it's something different. A lot of farmers don't like change, or they like things different. But when one guy does it and it starts to work and he talks about it, and a lot of people look up to Wally in this area. So I think they've seen that, and we've gotten a lot of attention. We've got more contracts that have come from Wally having that in. And we've just spread a lot of knowledge about shallow water areas and moist soil units. And I think when you bring all three of us into the mix, kind of preaching the same story, a lot of people start listening.
He's leading the community in conservation. He's leading, you know, on his spare time, working with youth and making sure youth have an opportunity here in his area and in the state to enjoy the great outdoors.
One of the things I think really differentiates Wally's approach is not just his focus on his operation, but really partnering with external agency, partnering with Quail Forever, partnering with federal agencies, leveraging programs and best practices, and sharing those across his community.
I thought it would be great to nominate Wally for Farmer of the Year, not only because of the habitat enhancements, the precision ag technology that he's implemented on his farm and all of the different conservation practices, but because of his presence in his community.
Everybody else in West Tennessee is just overjoyed. We're excited, we're proud. I mean, the governor of the state of Tennessee showed up, you know, the other day. I think everybody's just excited to be just a part of their overall project, but it still takes a guy like Wally deciding, hey, I'm going all in. And that's what he does when he gets involved. I'm going all in for conservation. I'm going all in with Quail Forever. I'm gonna get some habitat on the ground. It doesn't matter if people say you can't bring quail back, he's gonna help bring them back. And that's the kind of guy Wally Childress is.
You always want to make things, try to make it a little bit better than the best day you've ever had. And if I can do stuff for wildlife without it costing an arm and leg and tie it into farming, it's just what I've always wanted to do. That's kind of what pushes me. I want to be a better person tomorrow than I was yesterday. And that's just how it is.